Everyone was dumbfounded. Confusion and doubt mixed with their conflicted expressions. After a moment, Cao Zan secretly let out a sigh of relief. Worthless spirit. Hey, you surprised me. After the flash of red light, the phrase, worthless spirit, was clearly visible. Li Guang was astonished, finding it all hard to believe. How could? Your level of perception and your speed of cultivation are all much higher than the average person's. How could you be a worthless spirit? Even though Xu Rong did not favor Su Yu, she could not believe it either. Zhao Guang was utterly confused. Su Yu's quick rise to power suddenly seemed like a meteor blazing across the sky, only to crash to the ground. How could he have a worthless spirit? In the midst of all the confusion, Su Yu's expression remained calm. Only he knew how he got his level of perception. His level of perception was not extraordinary. The reason it appeared so was thanks to the illusion brought about by speeding up time 200 times. As for his cultivation speed, it was due to the consumption of large amounts of elixirs and natural treasures, not due to the absorption of vital energy. To have a worthless spirit was within reason. Slowly retracting his palm, Su Yu was disappointed. A feeling of bitterness slowly welled up in his heart. He had the Nine-Dragon Cauldron, but was destined to forever be stuck at level 9 of the martial paths. What type of exciting world was the Junlong continent? How large was it? How many geniuses resided there? How many powerful warriors resided there? Was he destined to be trapped on a tiny island in the middle of the vast ocean, to be an ant his entire life? He had once promised the Duke of Shanyu that he would find an immortal elixir to cure his arm. He had once promised himself that he would become a successful person and control his own fate. All he had done in the past. Did it have to stop here? My love for the martial paths still lives. Why was I given such a constitution? At this moment, Su Yu felt as though he had returned to the martial arts training institute overnight, back to the era where he was the weakest silver student. In half a year, he had blazed a path through the continent like a rising star. But today, he had been beaten back into his original shape. He was still the weakling he was half a year ago. Lu Guang, who feared Su Yu, laughed uncontrollably. Dragon and worm. Ha ha ha, I was right. I, Lu Guang, am a dragon, and you will be an ant forever. Lu Guang's worry disappeared as he laughed heartily. Xu Rong's eyes gradually turned cold. Splitting Yu and Xianer was a wise choice. Su Yu could feel everyone's eyes on him, but he stayed silent. He was too tired to rebut any insults. The words, worthless spirit, had decided Su Yu's fate. While multiple other talents would head to the Junlong continent and leave their mark on the world, the victor that had lorded over them would become a lonely, lost soul, destined to be an ant forever. The rays of the evening sun fell on Su Yu's figure, pulling a long and lonely shadow. No one could have guessed he was king of the century. Brother Yu. A soft, gentle voice spoke. A warm, smooth hand grabbed his palm. While it was gentle, it was persistent and forceful, sending a warming strength into Su Yu's soul. Sha Jingyu was bright and beautiful as she bravely held Su Yu's hand. This world still has me. It doesn't matter if this is an island or the mainland. I will go wherever you go. Su Yu's was touched. At the lowest point of his life, her beautiful face still accompanied him. Life without her was going to be very, very lonely. Gripping her gentle hand, Su Yu fell silent for a moment, then looked up at Cao Zan. Test her constitution, you will not be disappointed. Cao Zan frowned. The spirit testing ball can only be used 8 times, why should I waste it? Sha Jingyu grabbed Su Yu's hand tightly. There's no need, she insisted. Cao Zan did not care about Sha Jingyu's pleas. Cao Zan turned his gaze and brought the crystal ball forward. Hee, on the account that you're so down, I shall give you a chance and let her try, he teased. Brother Yu, I don't want to. Sha Jingyu refused. Su Yu ignored her, placing her small hands on the crystal ball. His gaze was calm, wearing a pitiful smile. If one day you return from the Junlong continent, please tell me what the outside world is like. A red glow grew, a radiant line of words flickering on the crystal ball's surface. Top-grade dark class spirit. Cao Zan, who was not expecting this situation, was dumbfounded. Dark class constitutions were extremely rare within the Lucian faction. Including Cao Zan, only a few core disciples had them. As for top-grade dark class constitutions, they were the best constitutions within the faction. Only one other person until now had one, the top disciple within the Lucian faction. Her appearance would cause an uproar in the faction. Cao Zhan's gaze shifted. If he dragged her under his teacher's tutelage, what type of rewards would he get? He did not realize that Sha Jingyu was blushing, staring at Su Yu with tears in her eyes. Brother Yu, how will you manage alone here? Su Yu gently let go of Sha Jingyu and gave her a stern smile as he shook his head. I have a pair of eyes helping me see the outside world. I will not be lonely. Cao Zhan was eager to get his reward. The test was over and they should return soon. Wearing a gentle smile, Cao Zhan was extremely polite. Junior, time will not wait for us, we should move now. He looked at Zhao Guang, Meng Lang, and Lu Guang. What are you all in a daze for? Board the Garuda, we leave immediately. Lu Guang's expression fell. Ever since the discovery of Sha Jingyu's top-grade dark-class constitution, he had become negligible in the eyes of Cao Zhan. The promise made earlier had fallen through, making him feel uneasy. Sha Jingyu's eyes did not look away from Su Yu. After a moment, she shut her eyes. When she reopened them, she was crying. She smiled. Brother Yu. One day, I'll definitely come back to tell you. She sobbed. As she wept, Sha Jingyu's words were lost in the wind. From this day on, she would be in a bigger, wider world, and Su Yu would be lonely once again. Wait, Junior Cao, I have a granddaughter. Her potential might be pretty good, Shu Rong hurriedly said. Cao Zhan's nostrils flared. Who cares about your granddaughter? I need to report back to the faction immediately. Get lost. Let's wait for her granddaughter. Sha Jingyu was still confused. Cao Zhan's expression turned gentle. He had to respect Sha Jingyu. All right, go and return quickly. Cao Zhan waved his hand, impatient. Shu Rong thanked him, hurriedly making her way to the Fenghuang Pavilion and bringing over Xianer, who was cultivating her abilities. Xianer was unaware Su Yu had arrived. She was even more clueless as to where her grandmother was taking her, arriving before the Garuda in confusion. Place your hands on this, Cao Zhan said quickly, his heart impatient. Xianer did not even have the time to take in her surroundings before Shu Rong pressed her little hand onto the crystal ball. The red light flashed, a line of words clearly visible. Medium-grade dark class constitution. The clearly visible words caused the impatient Cao Zhan to laugh. Haha, another dark class constitution. It's even a medium-grade dark class constitution. Obtaining 2 dark class constitutions in a row, Cao Zhan had never been this happy in his life. Shu Rong's body shuddered, tears flowing down her face. Great. 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 The Shu family. The Shu family has hope. This junior, please come here. Cao Zhan was extremely happy, smiling as he invited Qin Xianer up. Qin Xianer scratched her head in confusion, scanning her surroundings. She still had not processed the situation yet. At that moment, her big eyes scanned past a familiar figure. A familiar face, appearance, frame, and clothes. Although, his hair had become a mysterious silver and his pupils had become a royal purple. But his gaze was still the same as when he had protected her from the bloodbath in the Duke of Shanyu's manor. She might mistake a person's appearance, but she would never mistake a person's soul. Brother Su Yu. She had been pining for him for a long time. Now that he was in her sights, Qin Xianer threw herself in Su Yu's arms. She enjoyed the familiar embrace. The days of pining and farewells transformed into a sour emotion in her stomach. She broke into tears. Su Yu hugged Xianer, conflicted. Lu Guang's gaze turned cold. Getting off the Garuda and stepping forward, he grabbed Qin Xianer's shoulder and smiled. Junior Xianer, come together with Senior to a greater faction. Let's train together, all right. Xianer's shoulder shuddered, her eyes swollen from crying. She fiercely turned her head. I only want brother Su Yu. I don't want to leave with you. Let go. Lu Guang's expression turned rigid. Why was Su Yu so important to her? She was throwing a tantrum. Lu Guang sighed. Xianer, both of us are dragons. Su Yu does not have the right. You both are destined to different worlds. Even if you love him, it is not meant to be. Xianer hooked her arms around Su Yu's neck. I don't believe it. Brother Su Yu is the best. Cao Zhan squinted his eyes. Junior Xianer, come with me. Su Yu is an ant. I don't believe it. Give me the crystal ball, brother Su Yu is better than all of you all. Xianer extended her hand, asking for the crystal ball. I can test him one the last time, but you'll have to come with me after. Cao Zhan was a little impatient. How could two girls of considerable potential have such close connections with Su Yu? Xianer touched her sharp chin, chuckling as she hugged the crystal ball. She thrust it over to Su Yu expectantly. Brother Su Yu, try it quick. Tell them that you are the most powerful. In her heart, Su Yu was irreplaceable. Su Yu lovingly rubbed her forehead. Xianer, go with Jingyu first. After I finish dealing with the things here, I will follow, alright. He did not wish for Xianer to see him at the lowest point of his life. Brother Su Yu, you're not going try it now. Show these people brother Su Yu is the best. Sha Jingyu had tears in her eyes. Xianer, brother Su Yu is even more spectacular than the rest of us, there will be someone more powerful to come fetch him. We will go first, and meet again soon. I see. Xianer smiled, smugly skipping up the Garuda. As I said, brother Su Yu is the best. Waving her hand, Xianer laughed. Brother Su Yu, catch up with us quickly. Before flying, Xianer seemed to recall something. She whipped out a jade bottle from her sleeve and tossed it towards Su Yu. Xianer blushed, feeling a little shy. That. Grandma gave that to you. Yes, it was Grandma, not me. He grabbed it. It was a saint-grade spirit elixir and a divine-grade spirit elixir. Both bottles were filled with cracks and depressions as if they had been fought for. Su Yu's eyes turned red. Shu Rong would never give those elixirs to him. The bottles had been deliberately collected and left for him by Xianer. Every elixir was filled with Xianer's innocent love. Xianer. An intense pain welled up within him. Cao Zhan was impatient, willing the Garuda to take to the skies. Looking at the Garuda fly further and further away, Su Yu watched until it turned into a black speck and vanished into the horizon. Tears welled up in Su Yu's eyes, a pain circulating his heart. He had been strong until today. His face still remained calm. But today, saying goodbye to Xianer and Jingyu made it difficult for him to suppress his grief. It felt like the earth had continued to turn without him, leaving him behind in the cold vortex of space. Xianer. Su Yu clenched his fist, forcing back his grief and his feelings of unjust. Li Guang was shocked for a long while, his expression filled with pity and compassion. He gently sighed. Su Yu. You, take care of yourself. A lifetime of normality does not mean that you cannot be happy. Since it had come to this, Li Guang could not find any words of consolation. Su Yu's fate was indeed unjust. At that moment, Li Guang looked over to the crystal ball in Su Yu's hand. The red glow was fading, showing the words, worthless spirit. He sighed. Su Yu, if you have nowhere to go, you can come back to the sanctuary. Oh. Li Guang suddenly let out a squeal of surprise. He watched as the words, worthless spirit, gradually lost their luster and another line of words came to replace it. Su Yu also noticed what was happening with the crystal ball, his gaze grave. The small words gradually came together. Judging from the length, they weren't the words, worthless spirit, but something else. Could this be Su Yu's true potential? As the words became clearer, Su Yu's heart rose to the top of his throat. Just what kind of constitution was that? Su Yu's heart was beating fast, his mind utterly confused. Was it a yellow class constitution? Or could it be a dark class constitution? Was it a legendary heaven or earth class constitution? After all, Su Yu's results were abnormal, the crystal ball was displaying two different results at the same time. Sizzle. The red light flickered and a line of words was clearly reflected. Low-grade abnormal spirit constitution. Li Guang's pupils contracted, losing his voice to shock, abnormal spirit constitution. Su Yu was lost. It was not within the four classes of heaven, earth, dark, and yellow. He was uneasy, nervously asking, Holy King, is the abnormal spirit constitution suitable for cultivation? Coming back to his senses, Li Guang observed Su Yu as if seeing a monster for the first time. The edges of his mouth curled up, it seems naturally suitable for cultivation. Su Yu finally eased his heavy heart. The grief in his heart was completely gone, replaced by a newfound excitement. This would be his revival. Xian'er and Jingyu, wait for me. I, Su Yu, will also step on the Junlong continent. Toning down the excitement in his heart, he pursed his lips. Holy King, what is an abnormal spirit? Heaven, earth, dark, and yellow constitutions cover the commonly seen constitutions, leaving out the rarer constitutions. These rare constitutions are all generally called abnormal spirits, Li Guang explained in shock. Some special people cannot absorb spirit energy and have worthless spirits, but within their bodies contain special items, like ingested treasures, or immortal personas. These treasures or personas can absorb spirit energy by themselves and help the owners cultivate it. These are abnormal spirits. You were tested to have a worthless spirit, which means you cannot absorb spirit energy by yourself. But a special item in your body can do that for you, and thus a second result appeared abnormal spirit. Su Yu understood. If his guess was correct, the red liquid from the Nine-Dragon Cauldron had fused with his blood. He could not absorb spirit energy, but the mysterious red liquid could. When Cao Zhan tested him, he had been labeled a worthless spirit. That was because, after the test, Su Yu immediately had retracted his hand, leaving the crystal ball to display the words abnormal spirit. Li Guang continued, abnormal spirits are divided into high grade, medium grade, and low grade, based on their rate of absorption of spirit energy. But the lowest grade of abnormal spirits is equivalent to medium-grade yellow-class constitutions, the level Zhao Guang was at. There was something Li Guang had left out. Abnormal spirits were as rare as the heaven and earth classes and were often highly regarded. This was due to the fact that most objects that could automatically absorb spirit energy were wondrous treasures, and thus their owners could have unbelievable power. They are unique. Su Yu's incredible level of perception might have something to do with the special item within him. He smiled in relief. Not to mention medium-grade yellow-class constitution, Su Yu was confident that he could compete at the mainland, even with a low-grade yellow constitution. The Garuda has left. Follow me and Shu Rong to the Junlong continent, Li Guang said before he lifted his head to look at Shu Rong. Shu Rong coldly nodded. She agreed Su Yu's fate should not end here. He would ultimately step onto the Junlong continent. 2 days later, they hurried to the edge of the Fenghuang Empire, facing the vast ocean. The two holy kings combined their holy powers, awakening a great deep-sea turtle from its slumber. This turtle was the same one they had taken here 100 years ago. The journey is long, 20 days. I don't have many days to live, and will spend all my effort teaching you, Li Guang said. He sternly looked at Su Yu as they boarded the turtle. Su Yu thanked him in gratitude. The Holy King had a month to live, this would be his last chance to teach Su Yu. Sitting down, Su Yu attentively listened to the Holy King. Your level of perception is out of the ordinary, and you have learned ice and thunder techniques. Your techniques are magnificent and I cannot critique them. All I can give you are pointers about the path your cultivation should follow. The realm of the Holy Kings is split into 7 levels, the secret is to improve your physical limits. For example, why did the strongest weapon in your arsenal, the Purple Star Thunderbolt, only leave Shu Rong with minor wounds? That was because her physical body had already surpassed immortals. Thus, after you enter the realm of the Holy King, passing on to the next level is secondary. Absorbing spirit energy to improve your physical limits is the most important. Otherwise, you will never reach the realm of the dragon. Li Guang spoke of valuable experiences, and Su Yu would keep them forever etched in his heart. Within the Lucian faction, there are 4 techniques to boost your spirit energy. Of those, 3 are deity-level techniques. A book with the name Thousand Thread Mantra is the remnant of a spirit-level technique. With your level of perception, you should choose spirit-level techniques to cultivate and boost your spirit energy. This would be greatly beneficial for your future push into the realm of the dragon. Su Yu creased his brows slightly. Are there no complete spirit-level techniques? Li Guang laughed. You think spirit-level techniques are like cabbages on the street. Mortal-level techniques are split into basic, medium, advanced, saint, and deity levels. Spirit-level techniques can also be divided. Spirit-level techniques are split into legacy, immortal, and legendary levels. In the Lucian faction, holy kings can only come into contact with fractions of legacy-level techniques. Your purple star thunderbolt is a fragment of a legacy-level technique. Only powerful warriors within the realm of the dragon can come into contact with the entire legacy-level technique. Su Yu was surprised. Was a complete legacy-level technique so difficult to obtain? What about immortal level and legendary level techniques? Su Yu asked. Li Guang thought for a moment before saying, it is rumored that the master of the faction has a fragment of an immortal level technique. As for legendary level techniques, they are but the stuff of legends. Thus, it would be good for you to give Thousand Thread Mantra a read. Every person who had broken through to the realm of the dragon had read the Thousand Thread Mantra. Lastly, your holy decree is very special. Li Guang looked almost confused. There's a unique rhythm to your holy decree, never before seen, even in the holy decrees of 7th level holy kings. I hope you can continue developing your holy decree, and perhaps one day you could achieve a breakthrough. Holy decree. Su Yu's holy decree was born from the elder in the wall painting. Could the holy decree pictured in that mural be extremely special? In the next 20 days, Su Yu achieved much progress with the help of the Holy King. After a good 2 weeks, the Junlong continent's shore came into view like a great monster rising from the waves. Su Yu awoke from his state of cultivation, his eyes flickering with excitement. The 13 saint-grade elixirs and the valuable divine-grade elixir given to him by Xianer had been fully internalized with the help of Li Guang's spirit energy. Su Yu's cultivation level had risen from level 8 upper tier to level 9 upper tier. The divine-grade elixir had unbelievable effects. Under the speed-up of time, Su Yu had attained considerable progress with Purple Star Thunderbolt and his Holy Decree. Equivalent to 11 years of learning, he had finally touched the border of Stage 1 top class for Purple Star Thunderbolt. A few more days of practice and he may break through. His Holy Decree had gone from Saint grade to nearly Divine grade, with just a bit more to go. Su Yu was grateful. The Holy King had gone from taunting and berating Su Yu, to becoming a treasured mentor in his final days. Both he and the Duke of Shanyu had given him a new lease on life, providing him the opportunities to change his life. Without them, Su Yu might still be a student in the Martial Arts Training Institute. Shu Rong, please, help me bring Shi Ruolin a message. Before I return to the faction, I wish to meet with her privately. Li Guang would not immediately return to the faction after reaching the shore. Instead, he wanted to see Shi Ruolin. He had less than 10 days left to live, he couldn't wait for the faction to investigate. He wanted to meet Shi Ruolin to tell her the whole truth. Shu Rong nodded, all right. Their meeting point would be where they currently stood, as it was close to Li Guang's family. His family resided at the top of the mountain range. They were a family close to the Lucian faction, famous for their levels of cultivation. Returning from Shenyu Island after 100 years, Li Guang naturally had to visit his family before he died. Su Yu, before I die, I will definitely arrange a path for you in the faction. Li Guang had a charitable smile. After spending 2 weeks with Su Yu, he had grown fond of Su Yu's wit and personality. It caused regret to stir in his heart. All the other holy disciples were his personal disciples, but Su Yu, from the start until now, had never called him his teacher. Li Guang had not spent much time with Su Yu and had taught him far too little, and he had felt that it was inappropriate for Su Yu to call him his teacher. But on his deathbed, he wished he could hear those words just once. Li Guang stood with his hands behind his back, looking toward the vast ocean with a little disappointment. According to the plan, Shi Ruolin could reach the meeting place within 2 days. But, she had not come. Shi Ruolin. Does she still hate me? Li Guang sighed. The person he had loved for 100 years would not even give him the chance to explain himself on his deathbed. This was his life's greatest regret. Su Yu's purple eyes scanned the horizon. The person you were waiting for may have finally come. The Holy King looked in the direction Su Yu was facing. After a while, he clearly saw a human figure. Su Yu's vision, after the transformation of the Nine-Dragon Cauldron, had improved tremendously. In the past, he could only see up to 5 miles. Now he could see clearly up to 20 miles away. At this moment, a woman flew over. She was dressed in a colorful robe, noble and elegant. Her appearance was gentle and prudent. As she landed, a sweet fragrance spread into the surroundings. Ruo Lan. Li Guang's voice was shaking, his old frame trembling. He could not pull his eyes away from her. The woman before him was the lover he had pined for over 100 years, Shi Ruolin. She was a 7th-level holy king, her biological limits far superior to immortals. Thus, she only looked 40 even after 100 years had passed. Li Guang was a 2nd-level holy king, his biological limits were only a little above immortals and so he was old and haggard. Compared to Li Guang, Shi Ruolin was calm. Her eyes showed no emotion. Li Guang, you have become old, Shi Ruolin's cold tone was unfeeling. The strang tone of voice brought Li Guang back to his senses. His face was laced with bitterness. After 100 years, any love or relationship they once had was gone. Shi Ruolin, I invited you here to explain that the incident years ago was not caused by me. It was Han Ji. You, do not be deceived by him. Please, leave him as soon as possible. Li Guang recollected himself, his voice high-pitched with anxiety, now I have obtained the Lucian token. I will ask the master to investigate the matter thoroughly and our names will be cleared. Shi Ruolin calmly looked over, her gentle eyes encircled with a cold glow. Yes, I know Han Ji violated me, not you, she said, her face unfeeling and distant. Li Guang froze as if he had been struck by lightning. You knew it was Han Ji and not me. Then why did you never say so? Why would you marry Han Ji? Shi Ruolin was silent for a moment, because, after Han Ji, he said it would never happen again, that he would take me as his woman and help me cultivate my skills. He made me promise. To blame it on you, she murmured. Rumble. Li Guang's brain ached. He had once thought Shi Ruolin had been lied to and that she thought he was the violator. But, the truth was that Shi Ruolin had framed him, together with Han Ji. Rumble. He had waited for 100 years, just to prove to Shi Ruolin that he, Li Guang, was innocent. But after waiting for 100 years, he now learned the cruel truth. Shi Ruolin, were you forced by Han Ji? Li Guang could not accept it. He would not believe his once love, the light that had kept him going for so long, was involved in the defamation of his name. Shi Ruolin was unfeeling, her expression getting colder by the minute. Su Yu supported the Holy King, his eyes harboring a merciless aura. What a selfish woman, betraying her love for her future. Holy King, you do not need to demean yourself. You should be more concerned about why she's finally here to see you. Li Guang's heart skipped a beat. Shi Ruolin had confessed to everything, how could she leave any witnesses? Shi Ruolin's reason for coming today was to kill him. She was a 7th-level Holy King, Li Guang was only a 2nd-level Holy King. The difference in ability was heaven and earth. She could exterminate them with a flick of her finger. Li Guang would not even have the ability to fight back. Li Guang, how great would it have been if you had died of old age at Shenyu Island? Why must you force my hand? Shi Ruolin calmly lifted a finger. Her killing intent materialized on the tips of her fingers. At that moment, Su Yu felt a tingle in his spine. His body went ramrod straight. With just a finger, he was paralyzed. Facing a 2nd-level Holy King like Shu Rong, Su Yu had a small chance. But a 7th-level Holy King could fully immobilize Su Yu with just a finger. It felt like he was a level 1 of the martial paths facing off against a level 9 of the martial paths. He was as minute as an ant, insignificant in the grand scheme of things. I, Li Guang, had spent 100 years of my life waiting. To think such a fate awaited me. Li Guang laughed pitifully. Li Guang seemed to have aged another 100 years. Disappointment and the will to die was written all over his face. Ruo Lan, you can kill me, but he is innocent. Can you spare him? Li Guang knew that he could not escape death today, but Su Yu had a chance. Ruo Lan's cold gaze fell onto Su Yu and she gently nodded her head. Suddenly, she turned and shot a horrifying bolt of vital energy toward Su Yu. Su Yu was facing an avalanche. It was as if he was in the evil forest again, toe-to-toe with a massive destructive force. No! Li Guang let out a low growl, pushing Su Yu away. Rumble. A great rumble reverberated around the surroundings. Blood sprayed everywhere and flesh flew in all directions. Li Guang's right arm was blown away, leaving only a fleshy stump. His blood sprayed out, covering Su Yu's face. It was warm. The smell of the blood caused Su Yu to freeze. Li Guang had used his body to block the lethal blow. Looking at the tall, old frame in front of him, Su Yu's soul shook. Run! Li Guang used his left arm to hug Su Yu, flying away. From their back came a gentle sigh, it's useless. Whoosh! They only saw a blur, before Ruo Lan was already calmly standing in front of them. Bitterness was ingrained in every feature on Li Guang's face. His gaze was resolute as he screamed, even if I die, I won't let him perish. Whoosh! Li Guang dodged in the other direction. Whoosh! Ruo Lan calmly shook her head, it's useless, die. Her figure vanished. Su Yu had managed to catch a glimpse of her. A jade-like hand rested on Li Guang's forehead without warning. She had closed the short distance between her and Li Guang without him noticing. It was too late when Li Guang finally realized what had happened. The jade-like hand gently pressed down. Squelch! A bloody hole appeared on Li Guang's lower back. His organs were clearly visible. At that moment, Li Guang had used his lower back to help Su Yu take the fatal blow. Holy King! Su Yu's heart trembled in grief. He had spent his entire life waiting, just to prove his innocence. Why did his fate end like this? Li Guang was pale as a sheet, his features contorted in pain. His haggard voice was pitiful, on the verge of a scream, I may die, but you cannot. Ruo Lan was calm, bringing her palm forward again as she gently sighed, it's useless. Blood evasion. Li Guang let out a furious howl, the blood from his right arm rising into the air. The blood in his body rose into the air, materializing into a veil of light that surrounded the two. Whoosh! The light pierced through the sky, followed by a trail of sonic booms. After a few flickers, it vanished beyond the horizon. Ruo Lan was slightly surprised. Her expression was grave, the forbidden evasion technique which eats at one's life force. Su Yu felt like he had been wrapped within a warm metallic liquid. He was separate from the events occurring around him. Li Guang's life force was critically low. Finally, after an hour, they fell onto the peak of a mountain. At the peak stood a solemn house filled with charming people. The atmosphere was filled with a soft light. Ah! Li Guang spat out a mouthful of blood, pale as a sheet. His breathing was incredibly shallow, on the verge of stopping at any moment. Quick, help me. Over there, that is my family, the Li family. There is a barrier that protects the family. Ruo Lan cannot enter. Su Yu looked back, seeing a figure in colorful robes flying 60 feet away. Feeling Li Guang's life was coming to an end, Su Yu was in visible anguish. Why? Why did it have to end this way after wasting 100 years of his life? He was being hunted by the person he had once loved. Why must he undergo such a cruel pain during the last moments of his life? We will be safe. When we reach home, I would never let you die. Li Guang's eyes were benevolent as he forced a smile. In front of the barrier, there were already people that noticed the arrival of Su Yu. Who are you? Li Guang's breathing was weak. He laughed bitterly, his bloody hand brandished a token from his sleeve. It was ancient and exquisite, the harshities of time evident in every curve and carving. Carved into it were the words Li Guang. Li Guang. That failure, Li Guang. It's him. The shame of the family. HMPH. Coming back after a century, heavily injured, he's probably back to beg for protection. Shameless. Whoosh. The voices of the crowd went silent. An elder with intertwining black and white hair dressed in a Taoist robe had stepped forward. He harbored a terrifying aura, no weaker than Ruo Lan's. You wish to seek the protection of the family. The Taoist-robed elder spoke, calmly looking into the horizon without emotion. It was as if Li Guang was a total stranger, rather than a family member. Li Guang's breath was shallow. He managed a light nod. The Taoist-robed elder laughed coldly, do you think you still have the right to enter the Li family? Members of the Li family glared hatefully. Because of Li Guang, the family had been heavily ridiculed. They were still trying to repair their reputation. Li Guang shook his head with some difficulty, no. I, Li Guang, sinned greatly and brought shame to the family. I do not dare return to the family. Then why do you come? The Taoist-robed elder coldly questioned. Li Guang pushed Su Yu forward, his body buckling as he knelt on the ground. His head fell and his eyes were heavy. Soon, they would close for the last time. With blood in his mouth, Li Guang pleaded feebly, I beg of you all. Let him in. Holy King. Su Yu knelt on the ground, looking at the approaching Ruo Lan. His heart burned with hatred. Why must she hunt such a haggard old man? Outsiders are forbidden to enter the Li family. You should go back. The Taoist-robed elder coldly refused and turned to leave. Thud. A low sound came from behind him. Looking back, Li Guang's forehead was slammed heavily on the ground. His remaining left hand was balled in a fist. His voice was pitiful, drawing on what little energy he had left as he hoarsely shouted, I beg of all of you. Let him in. For the sake of former family. This bow silenced heaven and earth. Time and space shared his grief. His actions were immeasurably pitiful. The voice of grief reverberated throughout the earth. During the last moments of his life, all Li Guang could do was protect Su Yu. His hoarse voice, his pitiful shout, his feelings of grief, how was he the same holy king that had stood at the peak of the Shenyu continent? Su Yu was in anguish, his eyes swollen from crying. He scanned the heartless members of the Li family, Holy King. Do not beg them. I, Su Yu, do not care about my life. I will not allow you, the Holy King, to demean yourself for me. Li Guang lifted his head before bowing again. Thud. His voice was hoarse, sad, and pitiful, I beg of all of you. I may die. But please, do not let him die. I beg of all of you. Listening to the pitiful voice reverberating around the lonely mountain, everyone in the Li family was dazed. The Taoist-robed elder was silent for a moment. Then, he calmly turned to leave, opened the gates. Should we let Su Yu in alone, or? Before the Taoist-robed elder disappeared he scowled, a member of the Li family dying at our gates would disgrace the ancestors, bring him in too. Several elders lifted the barrier and brought the two of them in. In that moment, Ruo Lan descended. She lifted her eyebrows as she looked at the barrier. She circled outside the barrier, unable to enter, but unwilling to return. At the backyard of the Li family manor, Li Guang clung to the last thread of his life. He leaned on the wall, his eyes heavy and nearly shut. Blood had stopped flowing from his wound. There was no more blood left to flow. Holy King, Su Yu was full of guilt. If not for him, Li Guang would not have been so heavily injured. The grave injuries of his right arm and lower back were all sustained in an effort to shield Su Yu. Li Guang trembled as he extended his left arm, caressing Su Yu's forehead. He conjured a compassionate smile, hee. It's fine. You're fine now, he said weakly. It's me. I let you down. Li Guang's voice trembled. Holy King, stop talking. Your clansmen have gone to fetch medicine. Su Yu's soul trembled, grief welling up within him. Li Guang smiled and he slightly shook his head, do not grieve. I will die sooner or later. But, before I die, your path. I have to arrange it for you. He trembled as he took out a token and a letter. The token was the Lucian token, and the letter was addressed to the master of the Li family. Give this letter to the master of the Li family. He will arrange for you to take part in the recruiting contest for the disciples of the Lucian faction in 5 days. You can enter the Lucian faction. The token. Take the token. If you have the chance to meet the master of the faction. Plead with him to take you as a disciple, so you won't get harmed by Hanji. Su Yu had tears in his eyes. It turned out that Li Guang had prepared a letter to help Su Yu in the future. I would definitely get the Lucian faction to investigate the incident. I will use the token to clear your name. Su Yu held the Lucian token in his hands, feeling grief and fury. This was the lifelong wish of Li Guang. Li Guang's eyes slowly closed as he weakly shook his head, there's no need for that anymore. Leave it for yourself. Survive. All I can do for you is this much. Li Guang gradually closed his eyes, his lips forming a lonely smile. He would forever die with regret in his heart. Teacher. Su Yu screamed to the heavens. Grief filled his chest. He was set ablaze with a burning hatred. Li Guang's lonely smile transformed into a smile of relief. You finally called me teacher. He He murmured softly, each word full of content as they were lost to the wind. His final breath extinguished. Along with a full body of blood and the remnants of a relieved smile, a holy king silently passed on. Teacher. Su Yu's voice was trembling. He knelt on the floor and bowed. They were together for less than a month, but it had felt like so much longer. Su Yu knelt for a long time. His eyes were swollen from crying and traces of his tears were still visible on his face when he slowly opened his red, angry eyes. His silver hair flew out behind him, his purple robe dancing in the wind. Members of the Li family realized snowflakes had started to fall on the mountain peak, where it never snowed. Li Guang's body was covered with the snowflakes. The snow soon crystallized into ice, deeply freezing his remains. The peaceful smile would forever be immortalized in ice. Su Yu bowed 3 times, his expression peaceful, but detached. Murderous rage laced his grief. Teacher. Your disciple swears to the heavens that I will take the head of your enemy and clear your name. Su Yu looked up to the snow-filled sky. He swore to the heavens, he swore to time and space. Hanji and Ruo Lan. Su Yu would not rest in peace until he had killed them. The recruitment contest for disciples of the Lucian faction would start in 5 days. Hanji. Ruo Lan. Watch out. I, Su Yu, would take your heads, no matter the cost. Su Yu clenched his fists, furiously howling at the sky. The Taoist-robed elder stood outside the yard, his eyes looked at Li Guang's corpse with cold doubt before he left silently. Su Yu's eyes flashed as he followed the elder. You are the master of the Li family. Su Yu asked as he chased after him. Whoop. Su Yu whipped out the letter Li Guang had passed to him before he died. The envelope was white as snow, laced with the red from blood-soaked fingerprints. The Taoist-robed elder opened the envelope to read the letter, slightly nodding his head. All right, I got it. After saying this, he silently left. Much later, deep into nightfall, Su Yu sat in his room. A servant from the Li family came forward to deliver a message. Mr. Su, the master wants to see you. Please follow me. Su Yu was brought to the meeting hall of the Li family, where the juniors of the family had already gathered. The youngest there was 15 years old, the oldest not above 20. But, their cultivation levels were shocking. The weakest person, a 15-year-old youth, was at level 9 upper tier of the martial path. The strongest person was a 20-year-old youth. Spirit energy surrounded him. His cultivation level had nearly broken through into the realm of the Holy King. The 10 youths could easily exterminate every single talent from Shenyu Island in the past 100 years. 5 days from now is the disciple recruiting contest held by the Lucian faction every 5 years. All of you have to bring glory for the family. You must fight to improve the ranking of the family in the 100 affiliate families within the Lucian faction. The Taoist-robed elder sternly ordered. Yes, master. The youths were excited. The Lucian faction had 100 affiliate families. The Li family was amongst those, ranked 30th. But even ranked 30th, they were still very powerful. How many talents are there in total between in the 100 affiliate families? Just how powerful is the Lucian faction? Just how difficult is the recruitment contest? If you become a minor disciple of the Lucian faction, you shall be rewarded with 3 low-grade marrow cleansing elixirs. If you become a major disciple of the Lucian faction, you shall be rewarded with a medium-grade marrow cleansing elixir, and be considered as a candidate for the position of master of the family. The eyes of the youths sparkled. The rewards were great as long as they managed to become disciples of the Lucian faction. Becoming a major disciple would actually secure you as a candidate for being the next master of the family. We set off tomorrow for the Lucian faction, prepare yourselves. Give out the elixir. The Taoist-robed elder coldly ordered. He waved his sleeves and 11 jade bottles flew toward the youths. One of the bottles flew towards Su Yu and he grabbed it. He did not understand, even he got one. Within the jade bottle was a pale blue elixir. A peculiar fragrance wafted from the bottle. He took a small whiff and his body felt as though it had been purified, shocking him. Low-grade marrow cleansing elixir. We usually only take one of these every festive occasion. The contest is a big deal and there was an exception to the rule. This is simply surprising. A martial artist consuming this would purify his body, lowering the difficulty of entering into the realm of the Holy King. Holy Kings consuming this would improve their mortal body and raise their biological limits. It is extremely precious and cannot be bought with money. Su Yu was extremely surprised, the marrow-cleansing elixir was this precious. The master left. The youths in the hall were all excited. At that moment, some of their eyes fell upon Su Yu. More specifically, they looked at the low-grade marrow-cleansing elixir in his hands. That's weird, even a person not from the Li family got one. Does it matter if he's entering the contest? A young girl looked at him harshly. Obviously, they were feeling disgusted that an outsider had access to their treasures. Su Yu's expression was calm, disregarding her words as he turned to leave. Stop right there. You can leave, but the elixir stays behind. A youth of level 9 peak of the martial path stepped forward quickly and blocked his path, looking for a fight. Su Yu shook his head slightly. You are not my opponent, make way. An outsider dares to be so brazen. The level 9 peak youth let out a laugh. He punched forward toward Su Yu's chest. A little impatient, Su Yu raised his finger, tapping on the youth's fist. Sizzle. It was as if the youth had been electrocuted. He retracted his fist hastily, shaking out the cold pain. He was furious. What icy hidden weapons are you using? Despicable. Again. At this point, many of the juniors were observing the fight. The youth did not want to lose face. He furiously grunted, attacking with his fist again. You should stop. You are truly not his equal, a cold stern voice said, short but forceful. The youth's eyes filled with fear and respect. He immediately retracted his fist, feeling a little unjust. Brother Konghui, you underestimate me too much. I was only careless and got wounded by a hidden weapon. I have the advantage when it comes to cultivation level, how could I lose to him? He softly muttered. You didn't even realize that the opponent used a top-class deity-level technique. It would be weird if you really did manage to defeat him, Li Konghui scolded him, walking forward with big strides. His frame was slender, his features sharp. He had a bed of short hair and his gaze was similar to a panther's, piercing and soulful. He had passed level 9 peak of the martial paths, approaching the realm of a holy king. He was a genius. Top-class deity-level technique. Some of the juniors were surprised, retracting their belittling looks. Cultivating a top-class deity-level technique wasn't weird. What was weird was how young Su Yu was. They could see how high Su Yu's level of perception was. The crowd looked at each other, no one stepped forward to challenge Su Yu. Among them, some of them felt they could definitely defeat Su Yu. But his level 9 upper tier cultivation base together with a top-class deity-level technique made him an above-average opponent. Even though the level 9 peaks who had cultivated top-class deity-level techniques, as well as Li Konghui, who had almost reached the realm of the Holy King, could easily defeat Su Yu, the others would have to spend greater energy in order to do so. In the hall, disgracing themselves was a small matter, but, bringing about the discipline of the elders was not to be taken lightly. So may I go? Su Yu asked calmly. His heart had not recovered from the death of Li Guang. He did not have the energy to continue the dispute. Li Konghui slowly touched his chin, giving outsiders a Li family elixir is unusual. But, on account of Li Guang, you may keep the elixir this time, but this shall not happen again. We, the Li family, are not a charitable organization, we cannot keep giving them to you out of pity. If you understand, you may leave. Was the elixir charity? Su Yu's expression was calm. He took out the elixir, stuffing it into the hand of the level 9 peak youth before leaving. Li Guang had bowed and begged for them to accept Su Yu. In the eyes of Su Yu, that was already the Li family's unwilling act of charity. Accepting charity once was enough. Had he accepted it another time, he would find it hard to recover. The crowd was dumbfounded. He's a person who bullies the weak but fears the strong. When brother Li Niu wanted it, he fought back. But when brother Konghui wanted it, he suddenly became a coward. No, it seems like he has a strong pride. He felt that he was being humiliated and tried to retain his dignity by returning the elixir. Now he must feel the pinch in his heart, suffering for the sake of his dignity. Su Yu rejecting the act of charity had caused the disciples of the Li family to be annoyed and disgusted by him. Li Konghui gently creased his brows, slightly shaking his head. You will not go very far being this proud. Entering the house, Su Yu was surprised to discover a jade bottle and a jade box placed on his table. Within the bottle was a pale blue elixir, the low-grade marrow cleansing elixir. In the box was 2 crystalline films, each the size of a fingernail. At the side was a note. Firstly, the elixir was not an act of charity. Li Guang had volunteered to remove his name from the Li family roster to exchange for 3 items. The first is the marrow cleansing elixir. The second was the right to enter the recruitment contest held by the Lucian faction, and the third was a request for the films to cover your pupils with. These were all prepared for you. It is up to you whether to accept them or not, Su Yu read aloud. Secondly, Li Guang was wronged. He was a man full of justice, definitely not a rapist. But, I had to care for the entire Li family, and while I knew that he was wronged, I cannot fight against the entire Lucian faction. If you enter the faction and have a chance, please clear his name. Thirdly, Li Guang should have been executed back then, but 2 elders within the Lucian faction protected him, and they banished him to Shenyu Island instead. If you have the chance, you can ask to go under them for protection, Su Yu finished. Even though there was no indication of a name, it was unquestionable that it was the master of the Li family who had written the note. He knew that Li Guang was wronged, but Han Ji's authority was strong. As an affiliated family, the master of the Li family had to think of the entire family and could not contest their decision. They had not even dared come too close to Li Guang when he returned from 100 years of exile. They could only look at him with cold eyes. A dedicated family member had suffered before them, but they could only treat him as a stranger, leaving Li Guang alone as he died. It was agonizingly cruel. Holding the marrow cleansing elixir, Su Yu was in grief. Li Guang had already planned for Su Yu's future before facing Shi Ruolin. The price he paid was removing his name from the family roster. His existence was a black spot in the Li family. By removing his name from the roster, many members of the Li family were elated. But to an elder who had been a vagrant for 100 years, wasn't his ancestral home his final resting place after his death? For Su Yu, he had given up his final resting place. By removing his name from the roster, he had given up on the right to be buried within the tombs of the Li family. Su Yu was indescribably grateful. Su Yu placed the 2 crystalline films into his eyes. His abnormal purple pupils were covered, and the seal of time that he had difficulty controlling was temporarily sealed without the need to close his eyes. Li Guang had considered everything. Su Yu ingested the low-grade marrow cleansing elixir. The elixir entered his body, the wondrous medicinal properties seeping into his limbs. His body felt as though it was thoroughly cleansed of any mortal filth. As time passed, a thin film with a nasty odor was dispelled from within him through his pores. The sticky film was composed of the impurities within his bones and flesh. It was the result of years of eating and breathing impurities. They had settled within the body, impairing a person's ability to fuse with nature. After dispelling those, Su Yu felt it cleansed, as if returning to his most primal self. His body felt hollow and in harmony with nature. His face looked energized, as if reborn. Based on his intuition, his biological limits should have had a slight change, getting him closer to the constitution of a holy king. The elixir also harbored a large amount of energy, pushing Su Yu's cultivation level to level 9 peak. The marrow cleansing elixir lives up to its reputation. Even though it was a low grade, its effects are remarkable. Su Yu exclaimed, surprised. He could faintly sense huge amounts of energy in the air. It was spirit energy. Sensing spirit energy was the first step. Next, he needed to absorb it. If he was able to absorb spirit energy, he would be that much closer to entering the realm of the Holy King, similar to where Li Konghui was. Su Yu was currently at step 1, still far away from entering the realm of the Holy King. If only I could have 10 more low-grade marrow cleansing elixirs, I should be able to almost enter the realm of the Holy King, Su Yu muttered. But he later shook his head, mocking himself. He was lucky to have gotten 1 elixir. The Li family knew any more would help him, but they simply didn't care. The next day, the team set off. But before setting off, Su Yu asked for the body of Li Guang. Li Guang could not be buried within the Li family tombs, but his body had not yet been discarded. Su Yu buried him at an abandoned hill behind the manor. Su Yu knelt in prayer, "Teacher, your disciple will set off now. I will not return before taking the heads of Han Ji and Shi Ruolin." In his heart, Su Yu had another wish. He wanted to bury Li Guang's body within the Li family tombs, returning Li Guang to his roots. Li Guang had been alone for all his life. He should not continue to be lonely in death. A group of 11 made their way to the Lucian faction. The master of the Li family, who was the Taoist robed elder, led the way. Along the way, the juniors of the Li family were chatty, exchanging pointers about cultivation and practicing with each other. Su Yu, however, was alone, left out by the juniors of the Li family. Multiple days of travel later, they set foot in front of the Lucian faction. A weird yet marvelous sight greeted them. Within the wilderness was an opulent palace, vast beyond imagination. Pavilions and houses floated in the air, like a playground for the gods. Celestial fog surrounded the palace and spiritual beasts were prowling around. Occasionally, spiritual figures flew around in the sky. The multiple first-time visitors deeply trembled. The scene before them seemed to have come out of an ancient legend. At that moment, the heavenly gates had congregated close to 1,000 martial artists. The top 10 talents from each of the 100 affiliate families had arrived. "Oh, Su Yu!" A voice nearby shrieked in shock. There was a person who recognized Su Yu here, and his voice was slightly familiar. Su Yu turned around and looked. It was Lu Guang. He was following a short and plump youth, smiling pleasantly. The short and plump youth was around the same age as Su Yu, but his cultivation base had actually reached second-level Holy King. 14 years old and second-level Holy King. Su Yu was shocked. Li Guang and Shu Rong had trained for a century, only to merely reach second-level Holy King. Even a genius like Li Konghui was merely half a Holy King at 20 years old. Restraining his shock, Su Yu looked away. He wondered how Xianer and Jingyu were doing. With their talents, they were likely taken in by some strong elders as their disciples. The short and plump youth glanced at Su Yu. "You know him?" Lu Guang bent over, aligning his height with the short and plump youth, as if he were a servant. Looking at Su Yu, Lu Guang replied disdainfully, "He is a genius from the same island as me. After being tested we found out that he was a worthless spirit, and he was abandoned. Not sure how he managed to reach Junlong continent, or get into Lucian faction's recruitment exam." Hearing that Su Yu was a worthless spirit, the short and plump youth lost interest. For a moment, Lu Guang's eyes turned vicious as he whispered near the youth's ears, "Senior Yuan Hu, he is Li Guang's official disciple." The short and plump youth's gaze went cold. As he smiled with his fat, small face, he did not look honest or simple. Instead, he looked ruthless and cruel. Hee. Interesting. His eyes suddenly turned towards Li Konghui. "What relationship do you guys have with him?" The disciples from Li family were extremely cold towards Su Yu. They had originally disliked him and therefore did not hesitate to keep their distance from him. "We are merely strangers," Li Konghui replied carefully. You better be strangers. If you stay around him, I'll make sure all of you won't survive." Finally, he sent a cold look towards Su Yu. "You'd better not enter Lucian faction. If you come in, you'd better watch out." After which, Lu Guang swaggered over. That was Senior Yuan Hu, the faction's 10th elder's new disciple. One word from him is all it takes to ground forever. He snickered, "I almost forgot, this worthless spirit body of yours, you don't even have the qualifications to enter the faction. You don't even have the qualifications to be pressured by Senior Yuan Hu. If this was Shenyu Island, you might have been able to display your power. But in Junlong continent, you are beneath lowly ants. The difference between you and me will only get bigger." Whoosh! A wave of vital energy surrounded Lu Guang. After not seeing him for 1 month, he had actually achieved a breakthrough into first-level Holy King, becoming a real Holy King. Su Yu's expression did not change. "The distance between you and me remains the same. The Holy King's realm is something a worthless spirit like you could never understand. Be nice, we might meet during the sparring match later. I'll show you the prowess of the Holy King's realm." Lu Guang swaggered away. Whoosh! Suddenly, a feminine figure appeared above the heads of thousands of people, dropping 100 flower petals. A low and faint voice was heard from the female's mouth. Hidden among these flower petals are 10 petals accompanied by low-grade marrow-cleansing elixirs. Whoever is able to snatch them, shall own them. The lady flew over, as if a celestial figure, shocking anyone who caught a glance of her. The crowd became excited. Aside from the top 30 ranking families, not many of the vassal family clans were able to get a hold of low-grade marrow-cleansing elixirs. Even for the genius disciples from the top 30 family clans, it was difficult to obtain marrow-cleaning elixirs. Among the 100 petals before them, there were actually 10 of those elixirs. They would all surely do their best to find them. Su Yu was moved. Swoosh. Using his extraordinary eyesight, Su Yu looked up and swept his gaze across the 100 flower petals. Although they appeared to be spread out, they may as well have rested at his feet. Instantly, Su Yu had discovered 3 low-grade marrow-cleansing elixirs, tied on the other side of the flower petals. However, before the flower petals dropped to the ground, there were already half-holy kings rushing towards the sky, snatching the elixirs in midair. Half-holy kings, with their wings made of vital energy, were extremely fast. Li Konghui's eyes lit up as he rushed toward the sky. He grabbed a flower petal into his hands, but it was empty. As he secretly sighed at his own unluckiness, a flower petal with a low-grade marrow-cleaning elixir attached to it suddenly flew past him. Extremely elated, Li Konghui extended his palm in a bid to grab it. Pock! However, it was at that moment, a sharp gust of wind attacked him from behind. Wah! Li Konghui's internal organs greatly trembled as he spat out a mouthful of blood before flying backward 10 meters. The elixir is mine. A 15-year-old youth grinned widely. Li Konghui was enraged, but after seeing the opponent's strength, his face was filled with fear instead. First-level Holy King. A 15-year-old first-level Holy King. In addition, Li Konghui had identified him as someone from the 100 vassal clans. That was a genius from the ranked 3rd family clan, the Wu family's genius, Wu Pengyan. Despite his resentment, Li Konghui ultimately did not have the courage to directly confront him. Hence, he turned around and continued to search for the hidden elixirs in the remaining flower petals. Swoosh, swoosh. A purple light shone beside him. It maneuvered quickly, ignoring the flower petals beside him as it accurately grabbed 3 flower petals. What astonished everyone was that, of all the flower petals grabbed, all had a low-grade marrow-cleansing elixir attached to them. Su Yu did not stop as he stuffed them into his clothes. With another sweep of his eyes, he instantly discovered another 2 low-grade marrow-cleansing elixir which no one had discovered yet. Swoosh. Flying over, Su Yu grabbed 2 more, extremely elated. While everyone else was still squinting their eyes trying to differentiate which were the petals which had a low-grade marrow-cleansing elixir attached to it, Su Yu was already picking them out. In just a moment, he had obtained 5 low-grade marrow-cleansing spirit elixirs. Su Yu's movements attracted significant attention. He snatched 5 of them. Someone cried out in astonishment. One sentence was enough to arouse the jealousy of the crowd. Swoosh, swoosh. Many were unable to resist the temptation of the 5 low-grade marrow-cleansing elixirs. As such, a small group came flying at Su Yu. Su Yu smiled coldly, "You guys came at the right time." Swoosh. A purple flash left behind its afterimages in the sky as it maneuvered evasively in the crowd, like a shadow. Su Yu's speed was easily comparable with half a holy king's. Ah, my elixir. He stole it. A half-holy king who joined in the encirclement was shocked. He had obtained 1 elixir secretively, which he had hidden carefully in his shirt. How had Su Yu realized that? How would he have known that, with just a glance, Su Yu had seen his actions clearly? How could he have defended himself? Among all 10 low-grade marrow-cleansing elixirs, 6 of them had actually been obtained by a single person, causing everyone to be shocked and impressed. Suddenly, a mysterious scene appeared in the skies. Multiple half-holy kings chased after a 14-year-old across the clouds. That 14-year-old youth could evade their pursuit and encirclement with much ease as if he was taking a stroll in a park. Swoosh. Suddenly, a flash of black light appeared beside Su Yu. A pair of eerily cold, Playful eyes looked at Su Yu. On the account of your having laboriously helped me assemble 6 low-grade marrow cleansing elixirs, I will naturally go easy on you. Boom. A gigantic palm harnessing the power of a first-level Holy King connected with Su Yu's chest. Such a vicious attack was clearly meant to inflict heavy damage. It was the opposite of an easy attack. The hunt ends. A faint voice was heard. Dong. The sound of a copper gong, full of spiritual energy, reverberated throughout the entire place. The crowd shuddered. The vital energy in their bodies dissipated. The various figures who were in midair fumbled, about to fall to the ground. The half-holy kings' faces all changed as they fell to the ground. A few of the first-level holy kings managed to glide down safely. Wu Pengyan gritted his teeth as his palm strike had been forcibly interrupted. Count yourself lucky. He snapped viciously, glaring at Su Yu. Su Yu's remained calm. All the half-holy kings and holy kings had nervously returned to the ground. Only Su Yu, as if he had not been affected by the copper gong, could return to the ground with ease, leaving everyone dumbstruck. Multiple Holy King-level disciples could not help but look shocked and bewildered. They were unaware that Su Yu's ability to travel in the air was not from the materialization of his vital energy, but due to a top-class light body cultivation technique. Even without this mysterious ability, thousands of geniuses were still in shock purely over how many elixirs he had collected. Of the 10, Su Yu had collected 6. It was incredible. The silver hair and purple clothes gave off a strange and mysterious aura. He left a deep impression in everyone's mind. Lu Guang, who was within the crowd, glared, "You're just as arrogant as ever." Being arrogant in Shenyu continent was no big deal, but to display such arrogance in Junlong continent, are you suicidal or just cocky? Su Yu smoothly landed on the ground and stood beside the Li family. He paid no heed to the glares and stares. The Li family genius juniors all swallowed, looking at the 6 entire low-grade marrow cleansing elixirs. Su Yu had obtained half a year's worth of the Li family's elixirs all by himself. At that moment, a few of them wanted to fawn over him in hopes of getting an elixir. To think they had been so cruel and cold toward him. Thinking back, they were immensely regretful, too ashamed to ask for an elixir. Your luck is not bad, Li Konghui coldly looked over and commented briefly. The Li family's disciples discovered that Li Konghui had lost his high and mighty expression. His eyes now held a tinge of jealousy. They had all witnessed with their own eyes that the low-grade marrow cleansing elixir, which should have belonged to Li Konghui, had been snatched away by Wu Pengyan. Yet Su Yu, who he hated the most, had snatched as many as 6 of them. It was no wonder Li Konghui did not behave like himself. Su Yu looked over coldly, perhaps. Arrogant. Li Konghui lightly snorted. To him, Su Yu's cold reply was no different from a loud brag. Swoosh. The female who was flying in the air was now floating in midair, as she silently surveyed the crowd. Her gaze was gentle and warm, stern and virtuous. Although she was over 40 years old, she preserved her dignified look and had an air of gentleness. Her image moved several of the youths. Su Yu activated his enhanced vision and analyzed her before he gasped. She, Ruo, Lan. Su Yu hated Han Ji for framing Li Guang, causing him to live in solitude for 100 years. But his most hated person was Shi Ruolin. What Shi Ruolin had hurt most was not Li Guang's body, but his heart. He had endured 100 bitter years for that woman. In the end, all he had received was her betrayal and fury. Su Yu's only motive for entering Lucian faction was to take her head. As if she had felt his gaze, Shi Ruolin turned around, extremely calm. It was as if nothing had happened, as if she had never tried to kill Li Guang. As her scarlet lips moved, a gentle and melodious voice could be heard, "The first round of examinations has ended." What? The examination hasn't started. How is that possible? Not only were the disciples at a loss, but the accompanying elders were confused as well. The first round of examinations is the snatching of elixirs and flower petals. It is supposed to test the competitiveness of the disciples. Every elixir obtained is worth 2 points, and every flower petal obtained is worth 1 point. As for the rest of you, you have all failed. Come again after 5 years, Shi Ruolin said gently. What? Snatching of elixirs and flower petals was actually an exam component. They eliminated 900 people. Even the elders were flustered. Lu Xian faction's entrance examinations changed yearly, but they were mostly minute changes and were usually well within the expectations of the elders. However, for this year's entrance examinations, the absurd test of snatching elixirs and flower petals had eliminated almost all the applicants. You have not even tested their potentials, why disqualify them? Some elders asked. Among them, there were too many disciples who had been unable to attain even a single petal. More so, many of the younger disciples who were unable to fly had immediately given up and had watched from the sides with their arms folded. It was too harsh. Shi Ruolin faintly shook her head. For this entrance examination, potential is less important. Individual ability and a competitive mindset is the crux of the examination. This is the faction master's decision. If you all have any issues with it, you may direct your questions inside the faction. Although the various elders felt unjust and angry, they remained as quiet as cicadas in late autumn. Reason with the faction master. Who had the audacity to try that? With just his eyes, the Lu Xian faction's master could obliterate them completely. As she looked away, Shi Ruolin announced, "Those with flower petals and elixirs, come out." Swish. Amongst the 1,000 people present, only 90 people stepped forward. After all, one person could collect more than one flower petal, causing the others to lose their chance. The second round of examination is the individual strength competition segment. Shi Ruolin extended her jade-like fingers, and pointed to Su Yu in the distance. "You, come out." Su Yu's heart was cold. Was she trying to abuse her powers to stop him from entering Lucian faction? Fine. Swoosh. Su Yu stepped forward in front of the others. The rules of the competition are as follows. One must win 10 consecutive challenges, and the opponent that he challenges cannot be weaker than him in cultivation base. Should he be unable to sustain 10 matches, he will be disqualified. There is a time limit of 2 hours. If he wins more than 10 matches, the more he wins, the higher the points he will get. This will be added together with the points from the previous round. In addition, the person who obtains the most points will receive 5 additional low-grade marrow cleansing elixirs, and we will make an exemption for him to enter the faction's depository of scriptures. Everyone gasped in astonishment. Just the requirement of needing to win 10 people of the same cultivation base was highly difficult, and that was without the time limit. Not to mention they have to defeat those of a higher cultivation base. It was virtually impossible to do so. However, the winner of the round with the most points would receive an extremely shocking reward. Not mentioning how precious 5 low-grade marrow cleansing elixirs were, Lucian faction's depository of scriptures contained many invaluable and precious incomplete lineage cultivation techniques. Those were what the 100 vassal clans wanted. Their family clans did not have such cultivation techniques. The depository of scriptures was only open to disciples from the inner sanctum who had performed meritorious services for the faction. Such a reward was too good to be true. In an instant, the 90 geniuses who made it into the second round were all eyeing the prize. The reward for the person who obtained the most points was too great. Shi Ruolin daintily nodded. "The challenge starts now. You may choose your opponent freely, and remember only 2 hours. If you don't complete this task, you will be disqualified." Su Yu's expression was cold. To single him out right from the start. Was she trying to sabotage his ability to plan ahead? Or, was it so that he would be the first to be disqualified? Undoubtedly, the participants who were challenged later had an absolute advantage over those before them. After observing the matches, they could tell at a glance which participants with the same cultivation base as them were weaker. Su Yu was essentially blindly relying on feeling, like using rocks to cross a river. If he was not careful and accidentally challenged the stronger participants with his same cultivation base, he could lose. Shi Ruolin, "I'll show you." Su Yu extended his finger and pointed in a certain direction in the distance. The person who was pointed at was a 19 years old with a whisker beard. Showing his battle intent, he took a step forward and laughed. "You want to challenge me? Hee, just what I wished for." However, Su Yu's finger changed directions. As he swept his finger horizontally across to another direction, he drew an arc in midair. "Not you." Su Yu faintly glanced at him. The expression of the teenager with a whisker beard stiffened. Isn't this just blatant mocking? Shi Ruolin frowned slightly and warned Su Yu, if you don't decide on your opponent within 3 counts, you are disqualified. 1, 2. Who said I didn't choose my opponents? Su Yu replied coldly. After which, he swept his gaze across the crowd which he had pointed at previously. All those who were within the arc I drew, step forward. I, alone, will battle all of you. Shi Ruolin's expression stiffened. With a sweep of his hand just now, he had grouped more than 50 people together as his opponents, more than half the people present. Among which, there were over 20 people of similar cultivation base as him. One person taking on 20 people simultaneously. Such absurdity and nonsense. After a moment of silence, the entire place burst forth in laughter. Shi Ruolin slightly tweaked her eyebrows. For disrupting the order of the match, Su Yu is disqualified. Su Yu stared back coldly, sorry, but I am serious. After which, he swept a look across those 20 people. I'm saying this for the last time, step forward. I will take you all on simultaneously. Since he wanted to prove a point, he had to go all out. If he had carried on as someone insignificant, even if he had entered the faction, he was bound to have no notoriety to his name and would be harmed by Hanji and Shi Ruolin. He might as well become someone of a high profile from the start, and attract the attention of the high-ranking people within the faction. That way, Hanji and Shi Ruolin would have to think twice before they made a move on him, or else they would risk being found out. This was something Su Yu had pondered about for a long time. Before receiving any support, his safest bet was to expose himself and make his name known. Not only did he wanted to be arrogant, he wanted to obnoxiously so. One person challenging 20 people was just the start. The crowd's laughter slowly subsided, replaced by shock and astonishment. You were being serious? Shi Ruolin asked, her facial expression stiff. The entire crowd gradually turned silent. Seeing Su Yu's clear eyes, occasionally flickering with wisdom, he was clearly not someone who messed around. Could it be that he was actually serious? Su Yu slightly shook his head. Yes, every word was true. A moment of silence ensued before it was broken by chattering elders and the genius disciples from the 100 vassal family clans. A few elders secretly assessed Su Yu and exchanged looks. Such confidence, don't tell me he has the skills to back it up. Whether he is skilled or not has yet to be seen, but his big talk and fiery arrogance are definitely unparalleled. Which clan is he from? From the looks of it, it appears he is from the ranked 30th Li family. Master Li felt slightly bitter as various clans stared at him. Su Yu's big talk indeed did not match his steady and seasoned look. After pondering for a short while, Master Li, who understood Su Yu's situation, suddenly understood Su Yu's efforts. To be protected, he needed to be well known. Simultaneously, while he secretly commended his wit and resourcefulness, he was worried about Su Yu. Tall trees in a forest were bound to be damaged by strong winds. Moreover, with his intentionally high profile, it was inevitable for him to incur the wrath of the majority. More importantly, did Su Yu possess the strength to fight 20 people alone? Was it too much of a stretch? Li Konghui and his company also felt the gesticulation of the people. They could not help but be angry. Ever since Su Yu had joined them, they had been harassed. First, they were threatened by Yuan Hu out of the blue for no good reason. Now, the Li family's reputation had been tarnished. Li Konghui shot a piercing gaze at Su Yu. He snorted angrily, disgraceful. As a Wild Island native, you are insignificant. Did you really think the geniuses from Junlong continent are even remotely near your level? Another member of the Li family chided angrily. Shi Ruolin assessed Su Yu from head to toe. After a moment of silence, she nodded her head. You can fight 20 people simultaneously. But, should you lose, you will be immediately disqualified. Su Yu coldly nodded his head. No problem. Shi Ruolin's jade-like finger pointed and swept across the same group of people. Among you all, those who are level 9 peak tier and above, step forward. Swoosh. Among those who were selected, there were 19 level 9 peak tier, and 1 half holy king. The 20 people stepped forward together, their eyes shameful and angry. One person taking on 20 people, such an unfair fight was unheard of. The half-holy king stood with his arms folded, not having any intentions of using his moves. 20 people versus one person. There was no honor for the victor to speak of. As a half-holy king, he felt even less inclined to attack, it was just too unfair. If you wanted to be in the limelight, congratulations, you have gotten what you asked for. Now, you should think about how to deal with our fury. He said casually. Su Yu took a step forward, and slowly lowered his hands from behind his back. His expression was as placid as a frozen lake, there wasn't a single ripple of anxiety. Their raging fury will be obliterated with my fists, he replied. Arrogant. You have a massive ego, don't you? Come on everyone. Let's go together and give him what he's asking for. A level 9 peak tier attacked angrily. One after the other, the remaining level 9 peak tier participants attacked. Iron Dragon retreats. Finger-pointing empire. Soul-snatching dance. Nearly 20 attacks from level 9 peak tier opponents were launched in all kinds of different shapes and directions, each attack extremely colorful. For a moment, it was like a gorgeous firework display, dazzling and breathtaking. Su Yu stood in the middle, his gaze calm. Swoosh. As the onslaught of attacks charged towards Su Yu, his silver hair fluttered in the air. His heart began to emit an astounding amount of cold air. Dong dong. Waves of snowflakes shattered into tens of thousands of cold droplets, covering the entire venue. Crack. SSSSs. As the liquid came into contact with the clothes of the participants, it began to solidify into cold ice. Not good. Circulate your vital energy to dispel the cold ice. After all, they were geniuses of Junlong continent. They were extremely knowledgeable and therefore were able to effectively identify and deal with Su Yu's attack. However, should Su Yu will it, all creations on Earth would turn into cold ice. The heavy snowstorm persisted and brewed ceaselessly. Most of the participants spent massive effort just trying to protect themselves from the cold. Swoosh. Su Yu's purple figure disappeared into thin air. As if taking a stroll in the park, he maneuvered through the crowd with ease. Those touched by his fingertips immediately solidified into ice sculptures. Crack. Wherever Su Yu passed, the surroundings turned into ice crystals. Various geniuses wanted to find Su Yu and finish him off quickly. However, they could do nothing about it, there were too many of them and it was impossible to pinpoint Su Yu's location. In addition, they had no time to plan a cohesive strategy. As such, their formations were an utter mess, causing their advantage in numbers to become a disadvantage. When a few of them finally attacked Su Yu, more than half of the people were already reduced to ice sculptures. There's no impressiveness in relying on your sneaky cultivation techniques. Come and fight us face to face. There were only 4 level 9 peak tier opponents left. After they looked at each other, they attacked Su Yu together. Su Yu's vital energy surged as the transparent vital energy was reduced to cold ice, forming a protective layer around him. Simultaneously, both his fists and legs extended together. Facing 4 opponents alone, Su Yu attacked and defended simultaneously. Crash. Splitter splatter. Even when faced with 4 opponents, Su Yu did not seem at a disadvantage at all. Comparatively, the 4 opponents who clashed directly with Su Yu were turned into ice. In the blink of an eye, the 4 fighters had turned into ice sculptures. At last, you are the only one left, Su Yu gazed over nonchalantly. The last person left was the half-holy king. He was a 17-year-old teenager with a handsome face and rough facial features. His expression was casual, he seemingly paid no heed to Su Yu's astounding strength. A deity-level cultivation technique at the mere age of 14 years old. Your insight is pretty good. Simultaneously wielding freely an ice-type cultivation technique. You are adept at group combat. Therefore, it is not beyond reason that you can challenge many at one time. Overall your strength is still acceptable, there are not many level 9 peak tier people who can win against you, the half-holy king smiled faintly. Although it was a praise, it was merely, still acceptable. My name is Wu Hao, you better remember it, the half-holy king said casually, a smile on his face. Su Yu was slightly taken aback for a moment, before he replied courteously, my name is. Stop, I don't need to know and I don't want to know, either. Wu Hao chuckled as he put down his folded arms. You are merely the first stepping stone in my examination. My only intention in letting you know my name is so that you will remember who defeated you. Su Yu shut his mouth and faintly nodded his head. All right, I understand. Your move. Wu Hao puckered his face in a smile. Looks like you already remember my name. Would you like to step down now? A speck in a vast ocean. Wu Hao raised his finger and pointed at Su Yu in the distance. The power of nature assembled on Wu Hao's fingertips. It contained the faint breeze of seawater, carrying a deep comprehension of the ocean. An azure blue speck of light, akin to the raging ocean waves, headed in Su Yu's direction. Facing it, Su Yu appeared to be a speck in a vast ocean, about to be devoured by the raging waves. Holy decree. Su Yu asked with a faint smile, Ice and Thunder Feast. Su Yu raised his finger as a purple and white light fused together on his fingertips. Purple thunder sparks and white cold ice, a fusion and feast of two natural powers. Kaboom! It was like a divine light that could destroy anything in the world across space and time. SSSS's. A white, purplish beam of light tore through the raging ocean waves, directly hitting Wu Hao's chest. Ah! Puff! Wu Hao was unable to block in time. He let out a shriek of pain, spewing blood while flying backward. His eyes contained great shock. To have actually been defeated after he had used his famous holy decree. Moreover, it was an overwhelming defeat. Su Yu stood with his hands clasped behind his back. With a light gaze, he looked over at Wu Hao. Your name is Wu Hao. Your name, I have definitely remembered. As a decent stepping stone. Wu Hao's face flushed with embarrassment. He was so ashamed that he wanted to dig a hole and burrow into it. Amidst the laughter of the crowd, Wu Hao retreated in shame. The battle had ended in an hour's time, 20 people all defeated. If there were still any doubts regarding Su Yu's strength, any assumptions that Su Yu had managed to obtain victory by means of trickery with his mysterious ice cultivation technique, then his defeat of Wu Hao with his holy decree was enough to prove that Su Yu indeed had the strength to back up his arrogance. Who is this person from Li family? Why had nobody heard of him before? Among the elders, they exchanged looks of shock. Li Konghui was Li family's most outstanding contemporary genius. Yet, when compared to Su Yu, he was significantly outshone. Based on the fact that the Li family had brought Su Yu along to partake in the entrance examination, it was apparent that their relationship was not simply superficial. Could it be that he had married a lady from the Li family? Should that be the case, there would need to pay attention to Su Yu's battles. Alternatively, the juniors had transitioned from their original uproar of laughter into cynicism and skepticism, and finally into the current state of reverence and adoration for Su Yu. The purple-robed figure stood silently in the center of the venue with his hands clasped behind his back. His handsome facial features coupled with his elegant attitude and noble aura made him stand out from the crowd. It was as if he was like a youthful deity recorded in ancient scrolls who had descended to the mortal world from the celestial realm. Looking at his astounding skills and exceptional talent, many were left dumbfounded. Many youths his age and older were deeply ashamed of their own inadequacies. Alternatively, several maidens had a colorful look in their eyes. One person taking on 20 people simultaneously, such unparalleled valor and strength were deeply moving. Coupled with an aura of nobility and looks comparable to a celestial being's, many young and innocent girls fell in love for the first time. Brother Konghui. A delicate voice was heard in Li Konghui's ears. Turning around, Li Konghui saw a 16-year-old maiden, smiling as she walked in his direction. She was extremely pretty, petite, and adorable. Many youngsters' eyes had a look of affection, their gazes fixated on her figure, following her wherever she went. She was Chen Shuier from the ranked 10th family clan of the 100 vassal clans, and she had a reputation of being the flower of the 100 vassal clans. Her beautiful looks, in addition to her adorably mischievous character, had won the hearts of many youngsters. Chen Shuier. Li Konghui held back his shock at her approach, though he was extremely flattered. Chen Shuier was lively and adorable, but not many guys had the opportunity to get close to her. Li Konghui also held feelings of affection for her and had tried to make advances several times. However, Chen Shuier was not interested and he, therefore, did not manage to hold many conversations with her. Seeing that Chen Shui'er had come to speak to him on her own accord, and had addressed him as Brother Konghui, Li Konghui's heart thumped madly. Upon feeling the envious and furious looks from the surrounding guys, Li Konghui's vanity was greatly satisfied. As Chen Shui'er hopped towards him, a tinge of fragrance could be smelt. Hee, is there a need for Brother Konghui to be so distant? Shui'er will do just fine. Chen Shui'er smiled, revealing her two adorable dimples. Hearing that, Li Konghui's blood rushed to his head and his heart beat uncontrollably. As his face slightly flushed, he briefly opened his lips and stuttered, Shui. Chen Shui'er lightly acknowledged him and her snow-like face blushed, revealing embarrassment in her eyes. Her head slightly lowered, as if she did not dare to look at Li Konghui directly. Brother Konghui. Can I ask you something? Dong. Could it be that Chen Shui'er is in love with me? Her eyes filled with embarrassment, her blushing face, were those not the signs of a maiden in love? You may speak your mind. Li Konghui's heart was in his mouth, his face flushed red with embarrassment. Chen Shui'er's embarrassment deepened even further as if she were about to cry. Lowering her head, she said whispered, Brother Konghui, is that purple-robed gentleman married into your family? If not, is it possible for you to introduce me to him? Boom. As if his brain had been struck by lightning, Li Konghui's face turned stiff. His rapidly thumping heart was completely frozen. He felt like a bucket of ice water had been poured over it, causing him to stop breathing. Chen Shui'er. Her motive for approaching Li Konghui was to actually ask about Su Yu. That look of embarrassment and the look of a maiden falling in love for the first time was not directed at Li Konghui, but at Su Yu. Shui'er. You like him. Li Konghui's mind was blank. The object of his unrequited love had actually taken a liking to the Su Yu, whom he looked down upon. He couldn't believe it. Chen Shui'er's face flushed even redder with embarrassment as if she was about to tear up. No, I'm not. I only wish to know him. Brother Konghui, please don't misunderstand, she was abashed. Although she phrased it that way, how could her facial expressions mean anything else? Li Konghui appeared as if he had been struck by another bolt of lightning. He was deeply overwhelmed and traumatized. The reality was harsh and cruel. My father's impression of him appears to be good as well. He was the one who asked me to come. Chen Shui'er's voice became softer and softer as she chanced to look at the Chen family crowd. Her parents were filled with admiration as they assessed Su Yu, who stood silently with his hands clasped behind his back. Poof. It was a miracle that Li Konghui did not vomit blood. Even the parents-in-law have given their approval.